It's about 8 o'clock now, so I got to the barn, rode this afternoon, went and picked up a few things at the grocery store, and came to my Airbnb, unpacked, got settled and everything, had some food, and now I am totally exhausted. Travel day is always kind of go, 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 and by the time I get to the end of the day, I feel just completely like I just want to get in bed. And almost always, I don't sleep great the night before I travel. I've come to know that that is just kind of a given for me, more so when I have to leave early in the morning and I know I have to wake up early and get to the airport on time. And actually one of the things I found that makes it a little bit easier for me to travel or kind of deal with the fatigue that comes with travel is to basically just accept the fact that I'm going to feel pretty tired. I'm not going to sleep super great the night before I am leaving, and that I might not feel great that whole first day or during the whole travel experience. And that's just part of the process for me. And the more that I kind of just let that be true, the easier it is for me to kind of get through that day and know it might be a little bit harder that first day or throughout the travel day, but that then I can just go to bed early, I'll get a good night's sleep, I'll wake up the next day almost for sure feeling a lot better, especially when I'm coming to a place like here. I've been to this particular Airbnb a whole bunch of times. I've done this flight to Charlotte and driving from Charlotte to South Carolina a whole bunch of times, so it's all very kind of on autopilot. It's very routine. It doesn't take a ton of brain power for me to get from my house basically to here. And then once I'm here, because I'm familiar with this Airbnb and I'm comfortable here, I know I will sleep pretty well. Whereas if I'm going to a new location or it's just somewhere that's less familiar, I might still kind of have a hard time sleeping that first night. But on a trip like this where I have to leave really early and I kind of know what the whole routine is going to be, I've just kind of come to accept that I'm probably going to feel pretty tired that first day, and I'm going to get here and I'm going to really crash and burn by the time I get to the end of this day like I am right now. But that I'll just go to bed early. I'll probably get quite a good night's sleep here, and then it's going to be a lot better from here on out. I think in the past I used to kind of fight that. Like if I was not falling asleep the night before or I wasn't sleeping well, I would just get really frustrated and I would basically make it worse for myself because I would just be really fixated on the fact that I hadn't slept well and I wasn't feeling good and I was really tired. Usually when I'm tired and haven't slept well, I have a lot more pain, so then I'm just even more uncomfortable. But because I've really seen that pattern play out a bunch of times, now I can kind of anticipate it. I can kind of mentally prepare for it and just go, travel day is going to be kind of hard, but I'll recover. And that mental shift has made it a lot easier and more enjoyable. So I'm excited to go to bed and hopefully get a good night's sleep and see you in the morning. It's a little after 7:30 on Thursday morning. It is freezing here. It's like 28 degrees outside. I just went and turned my car on to warm it up because it is basically frozen solid. And I'm gonna head over to the gym, try to get warmed up a little bit, just get some movement in before I go ride a little bit later this morning. I did sleep very well last night. As you saw, my Oura Ring sleep score was pretty high. My overall recovery was still a little bit low because my resting heart rate is still a little bit elevated, which also usually will happen for me after the day after I travel or around to travel, so that's pretty normal. I think I'm still just like a little bit in recovery mode after that, but glad I got a good night's sleep and ready to go get a little bit of movement in. How warmed up are you right now? Just getting moving, or like once you come onto your mat or onto hands and knees, over onto cat-cow, nice and easy. So band around the wrists, we'll do a couple overhead raises. Leg is gonna come up. So you're doing like a little side hip lift. And you can just stay standing. You're gonna go out to the side, arms forward, lower down, up to the front, out to the side. All right, let's grab your barbell again. Deadlift, little pause at the bottom. So you're going to step back, little pulse, back up, stay on the same side. It's now late Friday afternoon. I leave tomorrow morning to head back home, and we may get rained out tomorrow. Usually I would try to ride early before I head to the airport, but it's supposed to be kind of a rainy morning, so we're gonna kind of have to play it by ear and see if I'm gonna be able to ride before I head out. So fingers crossed that it won't be too bad, or at least decent enough that I can get a quick ride in before I go home. Right now I'm just finishing up tomorrow's YouTube video, getting that ready to go since I will be on a plane and traveling most of the day tomorrow, and then I just gotta finish packing up so I can get out of here early tomorrow morning. Good morning. It's now Sunday morning. I am back home. I got home from my trip to South Carolina yesterday afternoon, and today's actually my birthday. Honestly, I'm not much of a birthday person. It's just kind of another day, so it won't be anything crazy happening today. It's also like negative 15 degrees out right now. That's without the wind chill, so it's not exactly the kind of day that you want to go do anything. In any case, even though it's my birthday, still gonna start this day off with a little workout. And really, to me, that's the best way to start off any day, and maybe especially my birthday. And once again, my windows are completely frozen over. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a thick layer of ice there. That's gonna start melting all over the place now. Well, birthday day is winding down. It's just been a very chill day, which is totally fine with me, especially given that I just got back yesterday from traveling. At this point, I'm also kind of uncomfortable because of the travel and all the riding and everything. I could really use a chiropractic adjustment, and I'm going to get in tomorrow morning, but definitely feeling it tonight. I had a nice day. I went over to my parents' house. My mom is actually out of town this weekend. She is visiting my sister and nephews in New York, but I spent some time with my dad and we talked to my mom and my sister on the phone for a bit, and that was nice. And then this afternoon, I met up with a friend for a walk. We kind of have a every Sunday walk that we try to do. And usually we would go outside as long as it's not too cold like today. So we just went to the gym and walked on the treadmills instead, but it's a good way to catch up and spend some time with a friend. So that was also nice. And then I've just kind of been getting myself organized for the week again since I just got back yesterday, finishing unpacking, doing laundry, all the things. Yeah, nothing very exciting for my birthday, but that's totally fine with me. And also kind of random tangent. I'm not sure if I've talked about this before, but it's January 19th. My birthday is January 19th, but I was supposed to be born in April. I was born like 3 months early. I think I was born at 27 weeks. Obviously I was quite small. I think I was about 2 pounds, a little over 2 pounds when I was born, and spent many weeks. I think I spent about 7 weeks in the NICU after I was born. And then I went home, and I was home for about a month or maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and then I actually got bacterial meningitis. If you're not familiar with meningitis, it's very dangerous, especially bacterial meningitis. It's swelling of the brain. It can cause all sorts of bad long-term side effects. And by the time they figured out what it was, I was very, very sick. Like pretty much they said if I hadn't been in the hospital that night, I probably would not have survived. So that obviously was fairly traumatic for a still very preterm infant me at that time. And also because of the early birth and then because of the meningitis, I had a lot of medications, antibiotics, just a lot of interventions at a very, very young age. I mean, I was still supposed to be in the womb at that point and had already had all of these medical interventions, which thankfully, you know, a lot of them were just there to keep me alive and very important, but also really hard on like a developing human. And I'm telling this story because I do think this all relates to some of the health conditions that I'm dealing with now, 38 years later. This is something that my naturopath and I have talked about again and again, or kind of gone back to again and again, is the fact that I had a lot of stuff basically happen right after I was born and at such an early stage of my life. And really like when my immune system was developing, when my gut was developing, all of these things that play such a big part in overall health down the road. Obviously, we'll never really know what that means or how that might play into this. It's really hard to say, but kind of realizing that like all systems of my body were developing under these very stressful conditions. And like, how does that set up sort of your set point for later in life, or how might that be impacting me now and some of the things that are going on? It's just something we've really had to kind of keep in mind and consider that some of these things that are happening for me now could really be ingrained at such a deep level, or have been things that maybe have been impacting me since I was really, really little, but just have taken a really long time. Like maybe my body's kind of been able to adapt or override some of these things for a period of time until it couldn't anymore. And that's why at whatever age it was, 20 something, I started having these symptoms and things kind of perpetually spiraled or got worse or became more intense. And now I'm trying to kind of unravel all of that and really help my body heal and recover from what could be really deeply ingrained patterns. I don't know, I guess it's just something I end up thinking about or reflecting on my birthday, and kind of just how really stressful that must have been for a baby that can't even like consciously process what is happening. And so you end up processing that in your physical body, and how that manifests over the rest of your life is, one, I guess really unpredictable, but also kind of fascinating and interesting to think about. So anyway, I guess that's my little birthday tangent. But also an interesting thing you can do if you're ever curious about like your own birth or like early life story. Many years ago, I actually contacted the hospital where I was born and requested all of the records from my birth, and like from those months when I was in the NICU or when I was back in the hospital when I had the meningitis. And it was really interesting to go through all of that. I mean, it details all of the things they did. It's like day-to-day notes of what was happening. And I was just trying to get a better understanding of like what I went through at that point, or like were there any clues there that might be helpful for what was going on now. But yeah, super interesting to read through those and kind of see from an outside perspective, the perspective of the nurses and the doctors, what was going on with me. And you know, I've obviously heard like stories from my parents or from other people about that time, but to get all of these notes and all of these details about it, highly recommend looking into that if you're curious. Oh man, I feel so much better after getting to the chiropractor this morning. I was very uncomfortable for a couple of days there, and I'm just so grateful that I know I almost always get really quick relief going to the chiropractor, and that I have this practitioner who knows me really well. I've been going there for many, many years, and he's really familiar with my issues and knows how to help me. And I just really appreciate having like a reliable source of relief from some of my discomfort that can come up. This actually relates a little bit to something I was thinking about last night. I was in the sauna. I do some very good thinking in the sauna because I'm in there for like almost an hour. I don't really bring my phone in there because it overheats. So it's just like a lot of uninterrupted thinking time. But because it was my birthday and I was kind of thinking about my whole birth story and being really premature and the meningitis and just all the ways that there were so many opportunities along the way there where really my life could have turned out so differently and in a way like so much worse. As much as it's been hard and frustrating to deal with chronic fatigue and a lot of these health issues for the past, I don't know, like almost 15 years. Like I could have had some kind of major developmental problem from being born so early. The meningitis could have caused brain damage. I could have had learning disabilities. I could have had physical deformities or just so many issues that thankfully didn't happen to me, even with all of those things that happened early in my life. I don't necessarily think it's always a good way to think like, oh, things could have been so much worse or things could be so much worse, because I don't want to be dismissive of what I am dealing with now and the fact that it is hard. I don't want to discount that or kind of just say like, oh, I should be always thinking about what could have been worse or never acknowledging that this has been hard. And it is not fun a lot of the time to be really tired or in pain or dealing with long-term health issues. But at the same time, I think sometimes having that perspective of like, whoa, if things were way worse, I would be wishing that I could be where I am right now and, you know, quote unquote, just dealing with what I'm dealing with now. Or kind of the idea that like, if everybody threw their problems into a pile, you'd probably grab your own right back and yours wouldn't look so bad compared to what a lot of other people are dealing with. Yeah, I just was kind of thinking about how amazing it is really that I am even here alive at all, that any of us are here and alive, and just all of the pieces that had to fall into place for any one of us to be where we are today. I really was having a deep thought session in the sauna last night, I guess, but I do think it can be helpful sometimes, especially maybe on really hard days, to kind of put things in perspective and just remember that I can be really grateful for the problems that I do have and the problems that I don't have. And there are a lot of people out there that would gladly take the problems that I'm dealing with over what they are dealing with. And sometimes that can just help make those hard days feel a little less hard. So I just wanted to share some of my existential birthday reflections from last night. I think I'm going to end off this video here, but tomorrow I actually have an orthodontist appointment to check in on my Invisalign progress. So I think they're just checking in to see like how things are going, if I'm on track to finish up at the end of this set of Invisalign, like the number of packets I have left, or if we need to do anything else. So I'm kind of curious to see how things are looking there. I do have a couple of questions for them. I will actually start the next video with my update from after the orthodontist appointment tomorrow. And thank you very much as always for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.